Now, why would somebody who's extremely loving want to live around where there's a large portion of people that simply don't care to even think about that there may be somebody who likes to go to basketball courts and they like to see ones like where I used to live were freshly painted, had new nets at the time, might not be now. What has changed? The leadership, the mentality, the dominant mentality of what we see on TV and hear on the radio. Because we're not thinking of whoever else is coming by here to shoot basketball and want to see a nice clean and a nice basketball court net and enjoy being on the grass and stuff, right? And because the governor had their fucking goddamn stupid laws about wearing a mask, they took all the basketball nets down because they didn't want people going to the parks. The virus is not fucking real. But I am. And while I'm doing one of the hardest things in my life that I've ever done while I'm being electrocuted and continuously tormented and harassed, I like to go shoot basketball. I like to go for bike rides. I like to go for walks. I like to go for drives. I like to feel safe. And I remember I came here and I was angry, right? When I drove by, I couldn't believe it. They took down the damn fucking nets. Hardly anybody even comes to this park. Sporadically, a few people. But I used to, when I did Playfully Purple and I did Dayton, Ohio, USA album. Then I'm working on a very lengthy process. It's going to take me about 3 years. I need the things that I enjoy. God gave me other passions so I could also do things in moderation and rejuvenate myself. This is a very stressful area for Tracilyn Michael to live in. So the government out here in Ohio took it upon themselves. Everybody put on a mask. Hey, we don't want to get the virus. I haven't been sick the entire time I've been living on my own. Do you know that? Not one time. I don't have the common cold. I don't cough. Rarely. I had one slight fever. The rest of my sickness is the psychological from living in the government's mentality of how we all should live out here. I care more about this net than I do about putting a mask on my face because that's what's real. You see this? Why don't the governor come out here and put on a new net? A person could get hurt with that, especially if they go up to slam dunk it. Oh, and their hand get caught in that? I hope you're not just writing things off out here as though you did replace things, because that's what a lot of government does. They write things off. Checks things out. Well, things are okay, or they write things off as though they did do something, but then they didn't. And then sooner or later, it comes back to bite them in the fucking ass. Well, somebody like Tracilyn Michael out here, the one thing that the Ohio government would have to do is start being more honest. That's why they try to shush you away, because there's a lot of dishonesty going on. God told me it's the only way that a city like this would end up the way that it did. There's a lot of shuffling of money going around to different areas of the country that they prioritize, is that it? Or to the state, is that it? Cincinnati and Columbus, well, there's more interest there. Well, why is that? Psychological warfare. It's not about people's interest. The bottom line is it's common sense. You're going to do something with the building, get rid of the building. It's here for the season. That place was a waste. I should have sued the shit out of them. If I would have just utilized my life and just stayed on top of the government and sued them, I would be extremely well-to-do. Don't ever tax me again. I can't even believe that when I go in here to buy products, anything, any store, if I get gas, being that I'm on Social Security and that's the taxpayers' hard sweating money, right? I can't believe that they're taking tax money. Why do I have to pay taxes on anything? I went to Delaware, they didn't pay taxes, no sales taxes. Why can one state run with no sales taxes, but another state can't function that way? But as soon as New Yorkers put a mask on their face, then Ohio runs, oh, we better do what everybody else is doing. Well, then why don't we do what everybody else is doing in Delaware and remove all sales taxes out here? We already pay taxes anyway. And don't claim that it's for something else. That's mental manipulation. Say it. It's mental manipulation. You're manipulating things. That's just like health insurance. When I started learning that Canada has better health insurance plans for their people. Okay, I don't know about now, but that's what I learned then. If people were living more heavenly lives and God's will be done here on earth as it is in heaven, then why the hell are we paying for anything? And why aren't people doing things more generously with their heart? Meaning, whatever it is that you do. So, Governor, this here is another place again that I wanted to come and shoot to relieve some stress, and your fucked up laws had them take down the nets and probably would have had me, what, fined for wanting to freaking do something that relieves stress. Do you know that playing basketball, do you know that just shooting hoops, it's not about being good or not being good. Do you know that just playing basketball alone is more therapy than a pill? Especially if they're not going to be screamed at for being here. Especially if they're not going to be screamed at and told I'm being inappropriate and indecent to the children around us. Because I was taking photographs downtown, and how many police officers approached me. It was more than one. Why is it that the law enforcement likes to gang up on Tracilyn Michael to begin with? I believe the entire police departments around the world have mental sickness. And I believe it comes from that, which is way up there. Because most of the laws are ridiculous. And I don't like a governor passing a law for the fucking local parks or a mayor that approves of it when I'm usually the only one that ends up being here alone. If there's children or something, I'm very nice to them. I say hi, I let them play basketball with me and stuff. Okay, you disconnected me from human relationships, the way that I like to connect with you, and doing something that I enjoy doing that relieves stress and makes me smile, lifts my spirit. And by the way, that is what it's about. It's not selfish. God's inside my brain, you fuckheads. And this is the God that I praise and worship. Don't pass any more laws while I'm living in Ohio that says I can't fucking play basketball when I want to. You fucking morons! I don't know who the governor is, you know that? So don't take it personal. It's the position. All you are is a servant to asinine. You're too much of a coward, I'm not, to say that the virus isn't even real. Well, you have evidence, you have evidence. You have nothing, you have made up shit, is what you have. Well, there's people dying. All they have to do is jolt you with the freaking chip that you have in your head and you can be dead in a second. They have direct warfare weapons. They can take out anybody they want at any given time. That's not what it's about to them. They could kill everybody today. They like to torture people. They like to get humans fighting and arguing instead of them living beautiful, loving in the Garden Oso of Eden life, where they eat fruits and vegetables and have the freedom that they have in their own home, a beautiful palace. They'd rather have you living around all the trash in the dumpsters and walking around with a mask on your face. And anything that you like doing in life, let's make it illegal for Tracilyn to show up and shoot basketball. They took down the basketball rims. I'm convinced that living in the United States government's idea of life, mentality, is what is my psychological problem. And by the way, for people who hear this message, they should sue the government because the psychological mental illness is not what it is stated. Oh, it is in close proximity to a description of what's going on. But let me tell you right now, it's not created by you. It's created by psychological warfare. Something I used to enjoy doing. I'm almost done with my album now. Okay. I used to like coming here in the summertime, shooting a few hoops for a few hours, and then I would go home. And I would feel good. I like to exercise. I like to use my fucking body. Do you know that the life I once used to live disappeared because I live in Ohio and because I'm stuck in their ideas? Because I want to live in a manner that says there's plenty of parking, it's safe for me to pull in and out of. I don't want management telling me I can smoke or I can't smoke. I don't feel that it's their business. It's legal for me to go into the store, 2 of them, right by the 3 of them, right by the freaking apartment building. It's walking distance for most people, which means it's very close. Why do we have a low-income building with corporate businesses right beside it, like McDonald's and shit? Get rid of the McDonald's, have plenty of parking for the freaking people that live in the building. McDonald's, in my opinion, has been a nuisance to me more than you could ever imagine. Even the fact that people in Nashville say cheeseburger sells, that's their slogan. They have McDonald's as an example. And the evidence, you could pull anything out that comes out of their window when you go through a drive-thru, and chances are your appetite is also coming from them because they nourish it psychologically at torment inside of your stomach, which confuses your brain into thinking that you're hungry when you're not. I guarantee you, however much food you eat today, you only probably need 15 to 20% of that. Some people would probably say less. So why isn't the government issuing, instead of a mask, to cover up our mouth and our nose so we have a hard time breathing, especially if we're runners, riding bike, playing fucking basketball? Why don't they freaking make us wear a bonnet or something that protects our skulls from the psychological attack on us? They attack the brain. The brain triggers off. That's why most people's, oh, I got a backache, but they can't find anything wrong with it. Oh, I got my knees been hurting for 20 years, but they can't figure out what's wrong. It's just something I'm going to have to go through. Why don't somebody look at them and say, if you can protect your head, your pain's going to go away? So why doesn't the government issue that? Protection gear for our brains. Well, then we would look like we're in The Empire Strikes Back or Star Wars. We'd all be dressed in plastic. And China would be extremely wealthy, wouldn't they? Because it would all say made in China on it. Don't do that again while I'm living out here. Fucking assholes. If you can pass whatever laws you want, but excuse me from them by giving me a fucking goddamn certified license permit that I don't have to submit to your stupidness. And that nobody has the right to tell me what to do. Put that in writing. Another human being does not have the right to tell me what to do when I'm living my life peacefully. If I want to play basketball, I play basketball. I don't have to wear a mask. If I want to use the bus, I use the fucking bus. I don't have to wear a mask. It's good sometimes that others do it, isn't it? If you ever sang on a microphone and you used to let people use your microphones, you would know what I'm talking about. See, Joyce Myers would say, stop being selfish with your microphone when you yank it away from people and say, that one is for use of other people. See, Joyce, I'm not so selfish when I'm considerate, too, of myself, when I went out and bought another microphone for fucking people to use because I was sick of stepping up to the microphone and realizing the stench that's on it is not my stench. I'd like to use her microphone. I'd toss it in the sewer. And then I'd fish it out and say, here you go. Selfish with your life? I'm not being selfish with my life anymore. I'm telling you the way it is. I don't know why God won't grant me the power and the authority to body slam, to slam dunk the fucking Ohio government. Okay? You son of a fucking, that's what I can say. You're fucking assholes. Telling me to put a mask on my fucking face and brainwashing people to believe that that's what they need? That's not even what the problem is. It's not a virus. And when they get sick like that, that's exactly what they did when I was in Derby, New York. Whenever you're looking to do something, it doesn't matter what it is. In this case, it was singing in a freaking studio in New York. They will inject your brain in such a manner and raise your bodily temperature. They do it with laser and energy weapons and shit and gas. They fill your bodies up with gas. In other words, all sicknesses come from that. If somebody hears this message and says, I can't believe that you said that, you know, my aunt died of this sickness and this. No, she didn't. She died of attack. Look at this. I'm just saying that I love railroad beds. And I'm so grateful that in my times of existing, like when I would go to school and stuff, I didn't have to live in an environment like this. Look at that. You see that? Look at all this trash. Hey, David Ashcraft, you fucking asshole. Stop showing Africa and start sharing my videos. Fucking problems in America first, don't you think? We have enough problems right here. That's what Africa would tell you. Maybe it's something up there that wants to give Americans the message. Stop being the superheroes of the world and start taking care of your own slop. By the way, Joyce Myers, that's what I was fucking trying to do, but nobody would tell me different alternatives, ways of living. I reached out, I wanted to. Back in Pennsylvania, I could have talked to a lot of different people that would have given me different ideas and insight. I couldn't get myself fastened, staying somewhere. I couldn't stay somewhere long enough. And I flatly refuse to have sex with anybody again in this lifetime. If anybody has the idea of sucking my dick, know this, you're gonna end up with a busted fucking skull. Most of the fucking people of the world that have sex, okay, are not very good at it. Okay, so you act like it is up here. Ooh, I'm so good at sex. No, you're not. You suck. And it feels good to say that because I had to be with a lot of creeps that think that they're actually good at it. And the thing that used to upset me, even when I was with Genetic Hero, I was the one who had to be the entertainer in the room a majority of the time, okay? If you want to enjoy it, you gotta do it. You gotta perform and do the things that you do and make it exciting. Why is that? So I realized that the person I've been looking for to be with my whole life was myself. And I'm getting ready to wrap up my song right now. It's gonna take me a couple more months yet to wrap up this project. They told me in 2018, they made it mandatory for all residents to attend a meeting that said that they were gonna be relocating all of us because they wanna remodel, renovate, or whatever, the building that we live in. That, by the way, it appears the floors are starting to show flexibility. I've realized this ever since I lived there. It proceeded to get worse. The structure of the building, evidently, or the foundation that the building is on. So I believe they're onto something. But the truth of the matter is, they made it mandatory to go. Everybody must attend. I attended it in at least 2018, maybe 2017. It's 2021. We're going on 2022. The last I got a letter, I was already started on my project, and the one thing I don't want to be doing is moving all over the place while I'm working on my project, okay? As a recording artist, it is very important that I nestle myself somewhere. If I would have been able to just get my hands on my own property, I would stay there. Do you know that? My whole life, Joyce Myers. Stay put, stay put. I want a house back in the fucking mountains. I could just stay put there. Why not there where I wanted to live? You fucking bitch. I don't want to bounce around low-income fucking developments my whole life. To be honest with you, for somebody like me, it's an ignorance for it to occur. That means I have to live in their idea of life. They made it mandatory for me to go to attend this. I don't have an ego about it. But then be real, for Christ's sakes. These life forms that have technology, they know it, and they've been tormenting me the whole time I'm working on my project that they're going to move soon, they're going to move soon, they're going to move soon, they're going to move soon. That isn't coming from me. That's not anxiety from me. That's them. It's a computer on my head. When I'm sleeping at night, that computer is running in my head continuously. It's all death talk. I was set and ready to live life. All of a sudden, the military assigned somebody that just plays messages over and over again, or anything to do with death. What I mean by death is not your idea of death. It's anything that's not promotable of life. It's what Joel Osteen would say negative. They pump your head full of it. And I'm still living there. My exact words were, I want to see what this next place is going to be like. If it's not to my idea of how an apartment should be, then me and the governor of Ohio are going to have a long talk, and same with the fucking mayor. The next home better have plenty of parking. It better be perceived as safe. If I want to smoke a cigarette, you do not have the right to tell me to leave the apartment building to do it. I am in more stress than I have been my whole life. Large portion of it is because of them up there on another planet that is harassing us in the military force here, but also living in the governancy of the state of Ohio. Clean up your fucking mess, you fucking hogs. The reason you need a mask is because you're a bunch of dirty fucking pigs. And the governor of fucking goddamn, is it Arnold Schwarzenegger? Hey, you fucking dork. While you were governor, were those people laying on the beach, you fucking asshole? I'm the real fucking Terminator. People like you should have your ass kicked. You see something like that, you get it fucking cleaned up. Life is important, not your fucking movie career. If those people were intelligent, as they heal, they would have all, if Arnold Schwarzenegger was a governor during the time that they were homeless out there, they would have all of his movies removed, and they would ship him back to the country he fucking came from. God's let me know. I will take your enemies and make them your footstool. Only you don't know who your enemies are. And God will take your idols and destroy them. Every fucking one of them. Air Force, you fucking goddamn skinhead. Highest rank of Ohio, you owe me a conversation face to face. Personally, I think I should kick your fucking ass for the assaults. I didn't even want to live in your fucking state. Who gives a fuck who died for what freedom? Who the hell is doing something about the psychological and attack on humanity in the state of Ohio? The reason all that trash looks that way is because there is assigned military people inside of the brains of people, and what they try to do is deface, devalue everything. Ohio is polluted with it. This is not coming from anything more than when people get assigned to us. That's what they left us know. Most people don't figure it out until they're about 40. The exact words were they like to keep people fighting with each other. When a person acknowledges that they are worthy of a hell of a lot more than they are living in the circumstances, they will literally tell people exactly what they think about living in their idea of life. Your roadways suck. Your signs are fucking very dangerous. There's direct, mental, whatever, communications, not only communications, weapons, whatever they are. And by the way, they're not always white. They literally have them so you can't see them at nighttime. They're in black. Not black lights like you see, purple, because that's what they show you. They want you to believe that black evidently cannot be a light of some sort. But in my apartment, I witnessed it. That's where people would say they're like demons. I'm convinced they're not demons. I'm convinced they come from the same technology via satellite as the white lights. So there is black lights, there is white lights, they even have red lights. I'm sure they could do all kinds of colors. It's almost like the planet is nothing more than a huge theater stage prop. And they are the lighting crew, they are everything. Not just behind the scenes, they're in the scenes. I've been penned up in my apartment working on my project because I want to finish it up and find out what's going on with this move. They talked about it 4 years ago. They made it mandatory for me to go. And here I'm still sitting in the same apartment. And I'm glad because I want to finish up my project. Onward to another place. Was it the Good Samaritan Hospital that used to be here? The same kind of Good Samaritan Hospital that I had all the problems at? And where I most likely got a chip put in my head? No, not that one. That was in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. But I will tell you what, right now, what was probably dominating the Good Samaritan hospitals in America are probably extremely corrupted existences of either life forms or human beings. I am standing on the corner of Salem Avenue and whatever road this is here. Deconstruction zone. No trespassing. Thank you. Well, I'm on this side of the fence, government of Ohio. Am I going to be arrested for telling you and sharing with you what I witnessed? Do you know one reason why I believe that this place was taken down? How about because it is the facility, one of them, involved in killing large amounts of people in the area? What do you think of that? Do you think they were all Joyce Meyer students? People were probably writing her ministry and explaining all kinds of things that they're witnessing and going on. She's telling them to trust God with their life. God gave you doctors and God gave you nurses. Trust God. Meanwhile, I remember driving down Salem Avenue after going to a psychologist appointment. And I'll tell you right now, only a small percentage of the doctors are compassionate, kind. And I would say about 60% of the people who do the scheduling of the appointment are very kind. But overall, you kind of always wonder, why are they even in the field of that would be perceived as being helpful to the human race? Philadelphia Avenue and Salem Avenue. And I want to show you over here. When I was coming down this road right here, there was a huge sign on the side of the building, which means that they promoted it and they wanted people to know where to come to if you have a neurology problem. Okay? What kind of evidence is in the soil that would lead us into understanding how corrupted this facility was? Notice it's gone now, and why is that? Do important papers get lost in the transitioning of going from one facility to another when one has been taken down? When we stop the use at one hospital facility, we go somewhere else. Papers seem to have get lost in the shuffle of things. What if people went to this hospital and they want to hide all traces? But certain people went to this hospital. When I came here, the lady that I was talking to at the window, she was very kind. This was one of my favorite hospitals to go to. The atmospheres and dealing with the people out of all the other hospitals I went to in Dayton, Ohio. And I still remember talking to the people that I talked here, so it's still in my memory. And the lady I sat down at the desk in front of while we were talking about either rescheduling my appointment or I was checking out, as they would call it. And she told me that there was another Tracilyn Michael in the computer, which would mean that there's two Tracilyn Michaels, without the S. In other words, my name is Tracilyn Michael, and there was somebody else living in the area with the same name, only I shared with you how I got my name, so I don't believe it. What I do believe is that there's an extremely corrupted group of people that would be perceived more as military, and they like to take the identities of people. And chances are there's other life forms that can at least bring themselves into close proximity to exactness as to another human being that once lived. They get rid of the other body and they take its place. Now you may say that I've seen too many movies. I don't really watch movies like that. I'm telling you from my own witnessing, I don't want to talk about it too much, but I'm pretty much convinced that I have been being stalked by Satanists, and I don't think they had good intentions for somebody like me, considering my legal documentations were stolen when I was with a psychopath that Joyce Myers was saying God did give you people. Learn to get along with them as they're stealing from you and shit. Legal documentations, and I want that known in the future and always. There's one Tracilyn Michael, that is me, and I am fully aware that legal documentations were stolen by, yes, the person that I lived with in Huber Heights. There was a huge sign on the side of the building that said neurology. Was it neurological disorders or was it neurology? Which is one of the conditions and reasonings on the Social Security list of disabilities. Well, here's the thing. Do you know that for neurology issues, most or not, they'll tell you you'll probably be dealing with that the rest of your life, and then they start blaming it on the cell phone towers and all this other stuff. How about there's another planet, maybe two, maybe three or four, and they don't like humans? How about there's a military force of humans that are lowly in their way of thinking and very satanic? And they don't like Americans. I remember when I was going to a psychologist, and it's just when I noticed it on the list, neurology. I passed by here on Salem Avenue. While I was going home, that away, I might have got the red light, and I seen that sign, and I knew instantly because of how I was being harassed since 2016 especially. I could psychologically relate it back to all the years of my life when I was going through different things, that the neurology disorder is artificially inseminated by other life form existences and technology. Whatever reasoning they gave you is most likely not real. And in my opinion, Dayton, Ohio specifically was hit extremely hard, and they were extincting people for conditions like that aren't even real. It's real to you because you feel the electrical current going through you and you don't understand. And how do I know that? Because I have it. And it's not a neurology disorder, and I take no medication for that. In other words, everything on the Social Security list, I've endured. Pretty much so, most of it. All the psychological conditions is coming from them. And whatever task force got rid of this, they're covering shit up. They're covering up all the evidence of all the traces of the people that they basically killed. Now, I'm not saying the people right here in this room, in this hospital, I'm not saying those people, but more so or not, there was probably corrupted people in there too. Okay, I've been wanting to share that for a long time because people were talking about whether or not, you know, their thoughts on the hospital being taken down, etc., etc. And the first thing that came to my mind, they're taking it down because the hospital is corrupted. It was used for corrupted reasons. So a lot of people that were brought here, they trick the minds with people to believe that they have this condition or that condition, and that if they take this medication, this medication, this medication, and if they undergo this procedure, there's a possibility, but not a certainty, that they can help them along in their way through life, at least comforting them. Hey, all the doctors and nurses that worked here at the Good Samaritan Hospital, I can diagnose myself. I have a neurology problem. Where do you believe that this comes from? And what do you believe is the best way to handle it? You want me to go in here and have all kinds of tests done? And then, well, what are you going to charge? Hold on a minute. I got Medicare insurance. I don't know if it'll cover everything, Donald Trump, you fucking asshole. Why is that? Why is it if I went to this hospital, we don't know if everything will be covered on our insurance? It makes you wonder, don't they care about life? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't everything be covered by the United States of America government? Insurance. Why doesn't God cover all the fucking bills? What's wrong with God? Did God take a leave of absence and is no longer on the planet with us? God does love you. God does care about all of your needs. Cover the expenses when we go to the hospital. I need a massage. You know what I've learned would help me out, government? With my psychological challenges that I have, with my depression and my bipolar, my anger outbursts, my stress. A nice body massage by an exotic escort. Why can't I use insurance to go see an escort to give me a massage? And I want one that I'm attracted to, not one that I'm not attracted to. For whatever reason, I'm not listening to Joyce Myers, who's smacking her lips and telling me selfish of me. Not everybody's attracted to you. Joyce Myers, I didn't say that. You said you changed the subject. I'm not attracted to that. Your teachings get people in fucked up relationships. People don't want to be with who they don't want to be with. I never said people had to be with me. I said, how can I take care of myself? What are ways? In my opinion, there should be a federal investigation of the hospital that was here, and all the paperwork should be held accounted for. They should hire, there's a new job there, hire staff to do research and find out what happened to all the paperwork. And if the people that were meant to move and transfer the freaking paperwork that was here failed at any given time, they should be taken to court and held accounted for. Files gone missing. Masses of people lost their life, died in this hospital. Meanwhile, it's because we're being assaulted and killed by people up there, life forms, by military on the ground. The ground patrol on the planet. And when you live in an area dominated by obesity, people limping all over the place, all kinds of defects, people in wheelchairs, okay? Do you want to know something? Joyce Myers will try to point your head in a different direction, and don't focus on that. And God tells me, no, take a glance at it and acknowledge this. A majority of it, psychological. They attack the brain. They stimulate it. Is it with electricity? What is it? Laser technology? And notice they still have a parking garage. And I would like to point out to the Ohio government that it would be nice if they could pick this foundation up and move it north to the place where I live and either get rid of the McDonald's and place it there on their property, right? Is it their property? Is it God's property? Is it common sense property? Why don't McDonald's show us a generosity of love instead of us stuffing unhealthy food into our bodies, okay? And have a very difficult time digesting it. Why don't they open up their parking lot so that we can park there and just get rid of the building? We don't need another McDonald's, is what I've learned. We need parking. We need common sense, especially in government positions that dominate because of their decisions, their statements, their comments. When they speak, it's harmful to all of us because they're not speaking favorable common sense thoughts that's beneficial for life for all of us. I want to say right now that I'm surprised I'm still alive. I can't believe it. All I needed to know is go get Social Security. It's not that big of a deal. It is to me. What's an even bigger deal is when you listen to the music I have and you realize my history, how ridiculous the leadership is and the guidance in our country is. Why? Because I alone could employ how many fucking people? And I breathe life into them when I sing. I breathe life into them when I model and I focus for a photograph. Okay? Okay. One thing that I really hate about living in the Midwest is their by-highways, many of them. Okay? You got 2 lanes of traffic on each side. I really miss the mountain and I miss driving country roads a lot. I was told when I was lost and confused that sometimes a metro area is much nicer to live because evidently there's more opportunity. There's more opportunity to reveal truth. And the truth is that most metro areas have piss poor leadership. And they have piss poor conversation going on in their day-to-day conversations. Police officers are more worried. This one's for the Ohio cops. You're more worried about framing somebody to fucking who's willing to suck somebody's dick for a couple $100 than you are about framing the fucking goddamn hospital for killing thousands of fucking people. Okay, why is that? Why don't you go set them up? Why don't you go set the doctors and nurses up? Tracilyn Michael has realized that we don't need them as much as you fucking think if they don't know what to tell you to do in your time of need. This is all about God, people. And David Ashcraft was a fucking asshole for not saying words. Words. In the beginning, the Bible. God was Word and Word was God. Well, that's for me to find out. Why is that? You're raising money, that's why. And you're distracting people from what they would naturally do. I was already self-employed. All you had to tell me is what? Pretty much it's the same fucking thing. All you got to do is surrender to the truth and only play venues you want to play and sing the songs you want to. You better find out who you really are in the Christ love. And then I end up here trusting a God that doesn't even exist except for to body slam you. I learned how corrupted at least the state of Ohio is. I'm convinced that neurology hospital over here, I commend them and they got rid of it, but that means that they also got rid of the evidence. It didn't take them long once they made the decision, do you know that? That was gone in no time at all. Where's all the paperwork at? What evidence were they covering up when they got rid of the place? Who cares? Does anybody care? I'll tell you why I care. Because there's not a heavenly presence of the good Lord on the fucking goddamn planet. If God's will be done, then I shouldn't have to pay for anything. I should be able to have what I want, Joyce Myers. You said I shouldn't. It's not about what you want. That is what God wants. Fulfillment for you. Joyce, you're a fucking asshole. You need to apologize to everybody you ever spoke to. People commit suicide because they don't understand. All you gotta do is tell them it's all about you. And if you don't do your part right and get it right with God, you're screwed. What kind of government allows this shit to fucking happen? And why can't I go into any facility whatsoever that provides services that are better aiding for the human body or nourishing? Why do I have to pay for it ever? Obviously, somebody here took servanthood and God serious. And the rest of people have left it lay. They say they keep God number one as they pass around the offering plate. Are they testing us? Can you believe that I was told to go to Lancaster County Bible School so I could learn more? No. There's plenty of information in the Bible. Why don't you just get in an agreement with it and mention that we are living completely opposite of the way that God intended us to live in accordance to Scripture? Even the whole male and female, what kind of leadership just lets it fucking go down? Well, gays have the right, gays have the right. There is no fucking gay. You've been beaten down psychologically to believe that you're gay because the enemy doesn't want you to know that every one of us probably has a penis anyway. Does anybody ever point that out to you? A female's a genetic female, is that that their clitoris? Huh? Is that like a little penis? What happened there at birth? I noticed they still have a parking garage here. They didn't need to cover up the evidence there, did they? It was more of where the office supplies were, where they kept paperwork and stuff. Not where people parked their cars, probably before they laid down and died. 4 years. How many years did they have the sign neurology? If I were to go in there and tell them what's going on, do you know what they would tell me? You have a neurology disorder, and all they can do is recommend pharmaceutical medication. No, the military man would say all you need to do is find out who it is that's doing it to you because they're harassing you. So somebody has technology. I met somebody when I went down to Nashville that was involved with Patriot energy transfer. They can see through your eyeballs. They can hear through your ears, smell. In other words, I was told there's a lot of gay guys in it. Is there gay in heaven there? And they beam in and out of people. If you see large dominant portions of people having sex, they're in on it, most likely. Because by nature and by the spirit of life in general, why would you let people touch your body without kicking them in the face? That's property of God, Joyce Myers. Okay, my body's property of God. When I was born, 1972, all the way up into the 80s, do you know why I was only with one teenage person a dominant portion of the time? It's because I wanted to be with one person. I wanted them to be more like a best friend, and I wanted to be very familiar with being honest with what's in my mind versus what's in their mind. You know, sincerely, unity of mind. And I didn't have all the answers because I was only 13, 14, 15 years old. I went to an American school who says it's best to leave God out of everything. And what ended up happening here is I started to learn that Joyce Myers is an asshole. Tracilyn Michael doesn't do anything for anybody else at all. You do it for Tracilyn Michael. I wouldn't be living by a dumpster right now in a very dangerous area where people are shot on a semi-regular basis. People are flipping cars, literally, onto their sides and their roofs. At the road I have to cross when there's no parking on the property that I live in. Most properties would assign a parking space to the tenant that has a car. I tried talking to these people about this. I don't want to talk about it right now because that's another story. The government of the United States of America has got to, it's an absolute, psychologically start maturing in a manner that says we are more intelligent than the average existence. Or get the fuck out of office. Because it's horrible living in ignorance. I want to be exempt from having to submit to the United States government. They can't tell me to leave the country. I'm not contributing to their fucked up way of living. I'm being harassed on a regular basis. Over here, I would have almost everything on the psychological disability list that would put me out of commission to be able to function in the world the way that they say we should, which is you get a job, you pay for everything. God owns everything, and so does the believer, according to the Bible. So why do I have to pay for anything? I'll pay for it, but you know, I'm going to do it the way that I want to, and when I am, I'm going to tell the government all the time, I'm not giving you a fucking penny. All you had to do years ago, it was so simplistic to me. Here's a list of other alternatives of ways for you to get your needs met. Why do I have to go stand in line at a food pantry when there's grocery stores all over the place? Think about that. Very interesting property right there. Dayton, Ohio, all of this with the automotive industry and stuff from Detroit, Ohio, etc., etc. Do you know what that's all about? It's destruction of America. They don't like the way Americans live. Okay? Now, I don't really necessarily agree with everything myself. I don't think that necessarily destroying people's lives is where the answer is, meaning their physical existence. You can't destroy life, you can destroy the physical existence. You can't destroy your life, they can't destroy your life. It can cause all kinds of problems. All of this was psychological warfare to take out Americans. Multitudes of them. Now why am I one of the lucky ones that got to live through it? So far anyway. I believe that God's teaching me specifically, like with the mass thing, for me specifically. As I go through life, more so or not, the only reason I would need a doctor is serious emergency situation if it occurred. But for what most people go to the doctor for is all fake. And they're not in the care facility by themselves or with the physical existence of the people that they think. There is actually teams, task forces that are continuously bombarding the human race. Their whole goal is to lead people into manipulation that they have all kinds of health problems, keep them coming, and hopefully shorten their lifespan and rid them of the earth. Why would anything want to do that? See, my way was a better way. When I was reaching out years ago, hi, I'm a songwriter. Need my music published. Contractual agreement. I have something to offer in exchange for an elaborate life. Joyce Meyer's way, stop expecting other people to do things for you. No, Joyce Myers, you fucking asshole, I'm expecting God's goodness in my lifetime. And well, where are these fucking other people that are doing things for God? Isn't there any publishers that publish music for God? Not one? Where are all these fucking tour promoters at? Aren't they doing it for God? Promotional directors. Where are they all at? The musicians. Why aren't musicians doing it for God? I went down to Nashville and I said, I'm doing it for God. Do you know that? And you know what God told me? Someday I'll be able to walk down Main Street of fucking Nashville. And I'll be able to select any musician that I want to play with me. Is it going to be a movie? Because in real life, I'm not convinced that any musician would play with me, if for any other reason because I have a penis. Do you know how stupid that is? Hey, you ignorant southern pieces of shit. I'm coming down there soon. And why am I coming down there soon? Because I want to share my story in Nashville and what the fuck I think of it and what I think of the floods that occurred and what I think of the fucking tornadoes that occurred and what I think that when somebody of a good heart comes down to you in good faith in the will of God for their life, it's not just for them. Oh, I do things for God. Tracilyn, we should get together and talk. No, it's not like that. And maybe that's why floods come through. But maybe God looks at Tracilyn Michael and says, you know what? If people aren't going to embrace and accept the child of God, Tracilyn Michael, then I don't need those humans. Maybe that's how much God loves somebody, do you think? Because most people would say that's kind of cruel, Tracilyn. I don't think so. I think people need to power up psychologically and acknowledge that when I mentioned to different people that God was involved in things like neighborhoods being taken out, they say God wouldn't do that. God's grace would let it happen, especially if God acknowledges disrespect to someone that God loves. You tell me. God evidently is a romantic. What do you think? Were they covering things up back there? Okay, my battery is going out, believe it or not, and I don't have a charger with me. I just wanted to show, here is my place that I go to, or used to go to, for my family doctor. And I would like to say that one of my favorite doctors was just coming out of school, and they were being transferred somewhere else. And it really sucked because I liked her. She reminded me of somebody from Philadelphia, actually, Philadelphia Avenue. She reminded me, she looked a lot like the first transgender doctor that I ever had. And, meaning it's a good thing. I don't mean it in a bad way. A very pretty person, and she was very kind. She was the one who helped me to get checked into the mental facility that the psychopathic doctor kicked me out, and I would have had to walk down a major interstate if I were going to walk myself home. 5 Rivers Family Health Center. And to be honest with you, I'm aware of anything bad to say about it. But usually the lady at the reception desk, as soon as I walk in, who used to work there a couple of years ago anyway, very, very kind. I'm happy to get things more right with myself. And I wanted to share in that happiness with other people, and what I realized is most people are miserable pieces of shit, Joyce. They're miserable. And then I'm miserable because I don't have my own money so I can take care of myself, and you say money's not as important as getting things right with God. Is that it? I don't know. There's people who have plenty of money. They don't believe in God. might be that God has them that way so that they can be happy and they can have money. Okay? God loves everybody, not the exact same. Yes, what is the measure of God's love for a human being? You tell me. Sometimes I don't even know if people are with us today. We look at a person, we don't know who's inside of that, is what I've learned. Joyce Myers, why don't we ditch the people in our personal relationships? I'm not saying out and about, be kind, be loving. You're talking to God all the time. God is always with you. Don't you think that God, who is a very jealous God, wouldn't want you involved in flexibility with another human being, Joyce Myers? So I'm dating somebody, and I want to really do something that's in my psychological heart, but they insist that it's wrong and I shouldn't do it. For instance, I want to do photographs in different outfits and stuff, and I like to exploit, I like to share, I like to show. And that person in a relationship says, I don't think so. But with God, it's all right, and it's honorable, because God puts it in you, psychologically. So don't you think a very jealous God who wants you and is always for you to itself, don't you think God would want that other human being out of your life? Because it's causing all kinds of problems. Now, I'm not saying that happened to me, but one thing is, when I was dating the person I was with before I came out, I tried to explain to them, and what? They had to go. It's not selfish of the person who has no other choice. They have to serve God in their freaking brain. And by the way, you can go into any part of the Bible and God will say, why don't you clothe yourself appropriately? Come on, it's in the Bible. And then you show me all these Christians with people with penises, with their hair cut above their earlobes, and, you know, the way that they dress on the day-to-day life. Forget the actual physical clothing, the way they clothe themselves. And God says, what? That's bullshit. It's not real. And what upsets me is I swear more now today than I ever did my whole entire life. Just today, I swore more than I did my whole entire life before listening to Joyce, ending up in the circumstances that I am. All I wanted to do is get my needs met and get on with my life and my desires. I tried to work. I reached out to people. You got to create your own job. I'm still going to be going around asking people. No matter what, there's not one business that can run without you picking up a phone or meeting and crossing paths with people or a letter or whatever that does not involve asking people. You have to ask. That's part of life. And considering the history I have with the relationships of people that I've been with, I would say that they weren't compatible and they weren't thinking like I was thinking. I wouldn't have to deal with all the things that I had to deal with. People need to get informed. That's number one. Somebody needs to confess. Tracilyn will do that for you. And then people need to be informed. And then people need to start holding the United States government accountable for stuff like this. The whole list of everything that's on Social Security, how much of it is real and how much of it is an illusion, how much of it is made up, how much of it is psychological torment by a military force operation that cannot stand humans or their ways of living. Dun, dun, dun. Goodbye. I'm going to go get a pizza. I'm going to go home. I'll have more messages coming for you soon. Bye.